All right, real quick. I'm already done with the session for today, but I wanted to say this entire session, everything that I'm doing is going to be on my monthly subscription program that's already launched. The session that I do, I'm about 8 weeks ahead of what the subscription program is doing. So right now they're kind of doing that combine phase from back when I was training to do like the 40-yard dash, the power clean, bench press type unit combine that I created. Everyone is on that phase right now. This is the second phase of the program, which is going to be a little bit more power and explosive, get away from some of the heavy lifting, allow your body to get some new stimulus, try to create some new adaptations. So if you want to do what you see today and have it set up in a program where it's progressively overloaded from week to week and going on, go to my Instagram page, click the link in the bio, subscribe to the monthly subscription program, and you'll be able to have access to the exact programming that I'm doing. So I'm not gonna always be posting YouTube videos, so you're not gonna be able to see what I'm doing on a daily basis. So if you want access to what I do, the subscription program where it's at, it's $39 a month, and you get to have a continuously built program out for you every single day. And then the second thing is, I get questions about this every single day. Every time that I post anything, my shoes are from Strike Movement. I don't get paid from them. They owe me a check or they owe me a bunch of pair of shoes right now, because every single time I post anything in the gym, I get DMs and comments every time about what shoes I'm wearing, what shoes are those, what are the best shoes to train in. These are the most comfortable ones for me. I'm not sponsored by them. I don't get paid from them. I bought my own shoes. I have no connections with them from anything, but I rep you guys for simply the fact that they're great shoes and I like them, and I'm trying to be the best person I can. So when somebody who's a follower of mine who likes my content asks me questions, I try to answer them. Sometimes I'm like, man, I don't get a check to answer this question. I need a check. I need some free shoes. I need something. This is probably gonna be the last time I answer that question. Strike Movement shoes, and then that's it. Off to the session. So started off seated broad jumps today, doing doubles. What I've been doing with that seated broad jump variation is at the beginning of a training cycle, I start doing more repetitions. So what was it, about 4 weeks ago, I would start the session off by doing sets of 5 and just kind of extend that out until I felt like I can't complete 5 repetitions at that distance. The next week, I take a rep off, 4 reps, 3 reps. Now I'm on 2 reps. Next week, I'm gonna be doing 1 repetition, trying to build up. Each time I do that, I'm trying to build up to the maximum distance for that set number of reps. So obviously, the more repetitions you're doing, the more fatigue you're gonna accumulate within 1 set, which is probably gonna mean that that distance is gonna be a bit shorter. And then as you start taking repetitions off, you should be able to increase the distance that you're jumping. So you start off with whatever many reps you want to do. You could do 10 reps if you wanted to, and then take 2 reps off every single week until you're down to a 2 rep max or a 1 rep max, whatever it is. I started with 5. I started taking 1 rep off. I'm at 2s this week. Next week I'm gonna do 1, and then I just use that as a warm up for the session, and also to get some extra work in to get things firing. But I just think about trying to build up to the maximum I can. Obviously, those last set that I did, I'm kind of landing on top of the box, but I'm not able to like land and stick that landing. So I don't know if I would necessarily count that rep. Technically made it to the box, which is the goal, but I'd like to land on top of the box and just stand there. We're gonna move on to our first complex for the day. The focus for today is just gonna be about creating force fast. So I'm gonna be using variations of loaded movements with unloaded movements, doing some complexes, and then end the session today with some explosive hinge patterns. But the first thing I'm gonna do is kind of a half deadlift, and then I'm going to complex that with some depth jumps on the half deadlift. What I'm trying to do is pull as hard as I can until that bar gets to the knee, and then let go of the bar and continue to snap up to the top. I got this movement idea from Allison Felix's track coach, who, if you don't know who Allison Felix is, she's an American sprinter who's probably the best female sprinter in the past 20 years. She's Olympian, all sorts of accolades, won world championships, Olympic gold medals. But the thought process on that is you're going through a heavy hinge pattern, you're trying to recruit as much muscle as you can, as many fibers as you can to move a very heavy load. So we're gonna be doing this at about 90% or maybe even slightly above 90% of 1 rep max on the deadlift. And then as you let go, because you've got everything firing as hard as it can, you should feel that you almost snap up to the top faster than you normally should be able to. So you're trying to build high amounts of force, let go, high amounts of velocity through that hip extension, create a little bit of like a spring effect. And then you're gonna pair that with some variation of a plyometric. Today I'm doing depth jumps. I started doing the depth jumps with this pairing last week. So this is week 2 of the depth jumps. So we'll do 2 to 3 repetitions on the deadlift, and then we're gonna do 4 to 5 repetitions on the depth jumps, and probably do 3 sets, maybe 4 sets, depending on how everything's feeling as we go. So I'm gonna do some warm-up sets, and then we'll get into our first working set. I'll probably be around 220 to 230 kilos on the deadlift. After each set of the deadlifts, you want to rest about 30 seconds to 1 minute before you go into your jumping movement. And then after you finish the jumping movement, you want like a 3 to 5 minute break before you start your next set on the deadlifts. So 30 seconds to 1 minute in between movements, 3 to 5 minutes in between sets. That way you can get adequate rest, try to recover as much as possible. You almost want to get to full recovery in between these sets because you want each of those sets to be at a super high output. So set number 2 here. Second thing for today, we're going to be doing step-ups into a step-up jump. The setup that I've been using on step-ups is a barbell on my back. I'm changing it up for the next couple weeks. I'm going to be using this trap bar with bands. I know this is a very specific setup, but really however you load the step-up doesn't matter. I personally like to use bands because it takes away some of the upward momentum once you finish the rep. So if you've seen previously, I posted on social media, I had the barbell on my back and I've used bands as the tension because once you get to the top, you're trying to push as hard as you can. Now you've created upward momentum. A lot of times when you've got weight on the barbell, that bar wants to kind of pop off the shoulders, and I don't like that feeling. So bands just allow to take that upward momentum away a lot faster, since the more you stretch the band, the more resistance it's going to apply. So that's why I like to use band tension on the step-ups. That way it takes away that momentum, just makes it a little bit safer. Plus you're still getting resistance throughout the movement, so you can just add bands, take away bands, try to feel it out to see what type of tension you want on that movement. But we're gonna be doing the same type of setup, loaded movement into a bodyweight movement, 30 seconds to 60 seconds rest after you finish the loaded movement before you start your bodyweight movement, and then the 3 to 5 minute rest on that. We'll probably do 4 to 5 sets on this. I always have kind of a set range on what I want to hit because if it starts to slow down and I'm not feeling as poppy, then I'm going to cut it off right there because the point of this is to be explosive through the loaded movement, carry that over, be more explosive through the bodyweight movement, and then repeat that for sets and reps. So 4 to 5, if 4 feels good, I'll go for a 5th. If 3 and 4 start to feel really slow, then I'm going to cut it off at that 4. So we'll see how it goes. But 2 black bands on the trap bar setup here. So the idea on the step up, what I like to do is you'll see me, I'll pick my foot up above the plate and I'll stomp down like I'm trying to drive my foot through the plate. The reason I do that is I feel like I get a lot more activation and a lot more power to get that movement exploding up as fast as possible versus just keeping the foot down here and trying to push through as hard as I can. So I'll bring that foot up, I'll stomp through it, feels more explosive for me. I feel a lot faster when I do it versus just keeping my foot on the plate. So that's how I like to do my repetitions on the step up. 3 reps on each leg. step up jump. I'm gonna bring my foot up above it, and I'm trying to explode through the box and jump up as high as I can. You'll have a little bit of assistance from that bottom leg to kind of push off just a little bit. That's okay. Focus on whatever foot is coming through the top, driving as hard as you can. If that bottom leg kind of assists you as you go up, no big deal. The front leg's still gonna be doing the majority of the work. We're going to be doing some banded kettlebell swings. This is just something I wanted to do in the session to get some sort of a hinging pattern with a little bit more volume. We kind of did a hinge with that deadlift, but it wasn't a loaded hinge throughout the full movement since we were dropping the bar at the knee. So the banded kettlebell swing is going to stick with the theme of today about being fast and explosive. That band is going to help accelerate the eccentric motion on that. So we'll need to fight against that band to decelerate it and explode back through really quickly. The idea here is 3 to 4 sets of 10-ish reps. So what I like to do is get the kettlebell moving, get a couple good reps in, and then start counting to 10 to get 10 solid, fast, explosive reps in. So really it's probably like a set of 12 to 15, but I try to get the kettlebell moving, and then once that thing is up in the air and I can get that timing down with it snapping down and throwing it back up, that's when I'll start counting 10 reps. So a little bit of an explosive hinge pattern, and that's gonna be it for the session today.